Hello guys, it is a beautiful day, and again we are joined by one Benjamin Zulu, and you know that once we get seated with Benjamin Zulu, wisdom is the way to go. And I hope you've told your friend that such hours, such days, we are always learning. Now, talking about learning, my dear viewer, I'm happy that you are getting some of the things that Benjamin is talking about, and you are undergoing necessary transformation so that you make the necessary right decisions that are going to pull you or catapult you to the next level. Now, to begin with, I'd like to go through some of the feedbacks, or just one lady whose message touched me. I'm not saying that most don't touch, but they do. But this one actually stood out, depending. She's coming from a very good point. She says, this is Miss Jacqueline, and she says, I can first start by saying, Zulu, you are the chosen one. That video that you made talking about if you are having a hard time dating, you can start by your physical appearance and turning on the feminine charm. I'm here to confirm it's true. Hey, I decided to put it into test, and I can attest to that. That last month, I have had to buy a line specifically meant for dating because the attention is over the roof. These are just amongst the very many messages that we are getting, guys. We are happy that you are learning. Now, today, I want us to continue with the learning process. That is why Benjamin is here. Now, you realize that Benjamin is one man who's very passionate about marriage and relationships, all right? And one of the things that he's always against is about cheating. Remember, my dear viewer, you'll discover that one of the strongest foundation, one of the strongest pillar of your marriage is love and respect. All right? Love and respect. And one of the ways in which your spouse shows disrespect is through cheating. All right? Today we are talking about cheating, but from a different perspective. What if, dear lady, you discover he cheated and he has a child with another woman? What do? Hey, Benjamin.
Hey, and you know that's very chilling.
Yes.
That's very chilling to imagine that somebody went out there and did everything they do with you.
Yes. Imagine.
With someone else. Let's start by saying we are not here to say whether you should forgive or you shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
That is not the myth. We are not here to preach unforgiveness or unconditional forgiveness. Neither of that. Neither of that to say, by all means, don't forget. By all means, forgive.
Forgive.
In fact, the forgiveness in that context means reconciling, of course.
Yeah.
Reconciliation always depends on how it affects you and the attitude of the doer.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
The answer to whether you should forgive is always between you and the person you're dealing with. It's never from us.
Yes.
The purpose of this message is to teach you how not to be over-influenced, pressured, manipulated by society, church, parents, friends, whoever, telling you that it's the work of a woman. Stay there and build your home. You know, if you leave, another woman will come in. You know, men are always like that. It rains everywhere. Even me, your mother, your father did the same, and I had to accommodate it. Women have been told things.
Yes.
The purpose of this message is to give woman back her power, to direct her destiny, to live the life she wants. Once she has been betrayed, to handle it on her own. We're not saying you don't need help, but the decision to come from within you.
Yes.
Not because some people forced you to stay somewhere where you are uncomfortable with and you are boiling inside. You are struggling inside. You are hateful. You are seething. That's how people end up resorting in revenge.
Yeah.
Very ugly revenge. Like cheating back, like doing things, or poisoning, killing, or becoming cold. Remember, we said you must not stay miserably married.
Or miserably single.
Exactly. Misery is not your portion. You are not supposed to live a sad, miserable life.
Yes.
If you cannot find happiness, move. Does not mean every day will be high. When you say happiness, we are not saying always laughing. We are saying there should be peace. Peace means a quiet heart.
Yeah.
A quiet heart. Not questioning, anxious, depressed, doubtful, crying, tears. That is useless. Our mothers deceived.
And I'm happy you've elaborated that, Ben, because I'm sure somebody was ready to interject by saying, when you say happiness, you are putting an extra responsibility to a man to ensure that the wife is always happy all the time.
We're talking about peace.
All right.
We're talking about you are not a source of my stress. We're talking about we are doing this in harmony. And we are saying, in fact, the reason we come together is to fight together against the struggles of life, challenges of life. to build our home, to get our kids, to, if we get blessed. Remember, children are not conditional. When we are blessed, we should not get used to kids. You think they're automatic. Don't get used to children. Not everybody gets children. Not everybody gets children at the same time. Yes. Some have to try for many years.
Yes.
Others will not get them. Others get them without planning. Children are gifts. They are not conditional. And sometimes fertility fluctuates.
Yes.
It can be there, very low, can be absent, can be very high, fluctuating, was there, went. You don't marry because of fertility, don't marry because of children. You marry because of companionship and hope that God will bless us with children, all right? So we are saying this. The purpose of this message is to place the lady where she belongs, in charge of her own life. Let's start by warning us men that there are two types of men who cheat. Two types. Only two. One is a bad person who is in disguise. They pretended they are husband material. They pretended they wanted marriage. They were ready to commit and behave and be disciplined. It was pretense. A bad person in disguise who will cheat because that's who they really are. They wanted you to give them social identity, but they are not here to be your husband, to be faithful. The second person who cheats is a good person, misguided.
Yes.
Okay? A person who genuinely is a potentially good guy, faithful, but he's misguided by notions from friends, from society, from you can do a few things, it's not a big day, no.
Yeah.
You get trapped, you get involved. Or he himself meant well, but he entertained a cunning woman. In terms of emotional things or sexual things, women are more clever than us. Read Samson, read David, read a lot of people, you realize history tells you enough. That the only solution was what Joseph did. Vamoose. That is the only solution. Sometimes it's not physical running, it's refusing the advances, not feeding the connection. So a good guy can be misguided by getting unwittingly closer, too close, crossing boundaries.
Yes.
So a bad guy disguised, a good guy misguided. It's always either of those two people get out. Now, this is what we are saying. So it's double tragedy, it's a double pain, it's a double pierce in your heart to imagine that what was precious between the two of you, somebody took it away. To picture that person doing those things to that person is crushing. When you married and you wanted exclusivity and you trusted the person, and they did the very worst thing you feared they would not do, it is inhuman. And when you realize you've done it to a person, Bramwell, one of the things we are doing this class is to enlighten us to the other side. You might be happy doing this, but how will that person feel? They feel so crushed, they feel no longer special, they question their self-esteem. You might make them, you might destroy their concept of love. We talk about breaking trust. We don't also talk about ruining a person's ability to love. A sense of justice in the world. There's a book called written by a lady called Janice, and she talks about after the affair, and she discussing the after effect, the ripple effects of betrayal, the trauma. It is so deep. I think most times don't understand what we might be exposing with our loved ones to. Many times you don't see it. It's a selfish. Remember, most men, when they're in sexual heat, when they're inflamed in sexual heat, they don't think.
Yeah.
We can't see far. Remember? That's how far. Men can't see when they're inflamed. Bramwell, a lot of times, you can only understand the damage when it has been done. You can only understand it when you see it after it has occurred. And it's very unfortunate. The purpose want to enlighten this is to say we are all vulnerable to making such costly blunders. Costly blunders. David did it in a moment. But it did ripples for years and generations, man.
Yeah.
David, with Amnon, it led all the way to death. Look, and inflamed to the last, and the Bible talked it, and some of the verses that are life-saving, that are talking about death, they are written in a calm way. So we miss the point. James enumerates how sin is born. Desires, lust, builds up. You imagine, you see, you desire, you reach forth, you do it, then it perceives. Lust, sin, death. Desire, sin, death. But we don't think about the death. We think we can manage it. We think it's like a moth flying around fire. Around fire. Although you can see the bodies of other moths that died, the moth does not think that way. So Bramwell, one of the things, whenever you think of betrayal, whenever you think of that pain, always imagine trauma. always imagine the pangs of death. Always imagine sleeplessness. A person crying, wondering why they were never enough. Imagine a woman crying, wondering why she was never enough. What more she can do. And your word saying, I love you, losing meaning. We're not saying it cannot be forgiven. We're just saying when it happens. And that people surely can heal. But you need to know what they're healing from. You need to understand the depth of the pain. In fact, the one thing I would encourage us men is if you're not ready to tame your horses, don't marry. Don't put a person's daughter what you wouldn't want your daughter put through. Don't lie. Don't go up there saying, and when these things happen, okay, let's go back now to the progression. When you come to learn, first of all, the way you discover something matters. If somebody confesses, does not mean they're innocent. But it's important. It's different when you find out yourself and when a person confesses. Sometimes people are not sorry before you find out. They're not thinking about it. Yeah. They don't know what they think they can hide it. Remember the two sides, the two types of people. A bad person in disguise or a good person misguided. There are two kinds. You will know it according to their attitude once it has come to the light. So whether you found out or they confessed or somebody or yourself, whatever, their attitude should be your guide. Number one, a person who turns blame on you, who is not apologetic, who is not even sorry, or tries to avoid, or tries to deny until you have to gather proof. A person who tries to say, where will you go? You already have children. Nobody wants you. Oh, you never did this to me. I did that. The attitude of denial, blame shifting, and bad dismissive, and twisting the facts and making you look like a fool. You shall not forgive such a person. That person is not ready to change. People can't convert before they confess. Understand that? Yeah. They will not change if they first don't honor. For you to be sure they are going to stop, you must see a genuine brokenness. All right? Any sin can be forgiven even if it's red as crimson, but the sinner must be on their knees. It's not the redness of the sin. It can be pale red, just slightly red, but the sinner doesn't care. You can forgive or stay or go where you want, or they keep quiet, they disconnect. I want you to realize that there's a sin that will not be forgiven in the Bible. That is blaspheming, taking for granted, ignoring the only person who forgives. It makes sense now. There before I used to run. Why is it a capital sin? Because the only person who is supposed to plead for you, you dismissed them. Yeah. Do you understand? That's why don't joke with atheism. Don't joke with saying, I don't believe it's a God. You are scorning the only agent of your salvation. Yeah. How would you save a person who's drowning and they tell you, don't hold my hand? You dirty. A drowning person insulting the savior, the rescuer, the diver. At some point, they were told in diving, when a person cannot sit still, you knock her. So they faint. Imagine, that's part of the diving instructions. Hey, they told me, sometimes you can't cooperate, so they hold you. Yeah. You're doing this, and there's nothing going on, so there's a way they're taught to knock in a measured manner to paralyze you. Imagine, somebody came to rescue and I realized that God had to knock some of us. Saul was knocked. And he was subdued so that he can cooperate with the Savior. Yes. There are people, please understand, once you realize a person once you discover the trauma, the unbelievable, as it sinks, observe how the sinner behaves. If a person is dismissive, twists facts, denies, don't even consider forgiveness. Start planning your way out. That person will do it again and they will continue it. Remember, this is cheating on two levels. Sleeping with another person is enough infidelity to break the marriage. We are not saying only when there's a child. Remember, we said it's not whether there's a child or one or two or there's no child, or it was sometimes cheating is not sex, could be kissing or using some language. Contact matters and the kind of connection. Any infidelity, violation of the trust is what we're discussing here. Now, understand this. Once you notice that the person is not sorry, don't even think about forgiveness. Now, once you realize they are apologetic, you can still leave even when they are sorry, depending on whether you're able to love again, whether you're able to trust again. Don't stay when the love has since left. And sometimes you can't decide in one day or 1 week. It may take a while for you to process your feelings, for you to think through, for you to consider, to think, to pray, to imagine, it may take a while to see through your feelings and see clear again. Don't react in a storm. Don't jump in a huff. Don't. There will be a lot of feelings. The feelings usually progress in terms of, there's usually shock and numbness. When you learn the thing, you can hardly believe it. You are shocked. The next thing you deny. Am I dreaming? Maybe it's not that bad. Maybe. Tell me it's not true. Denial. Because you can't imagine what it will happen. Then after shock and numbness, then denial, then bargaining. Oh, it was not that bad. Maybe. Maybe. Oh, maybe you can. Bargaining. What if? Tell me it was not. Tell me you didn't do everything. Tell me. Bargaining. Then as the reality begins to come around, you are forced to begin to see it really happen. You feel angry. How could you? The anger wells up. Hard feelings. You feel palpitations, sweating, and anger and depression, and that's where, when the reality, it comes a lot of weight. So there's anger and heart and vengeance, and you imagine revenge, you imagine this. It's okay to imagine revenge, as long as you're not carrying it out. It's human, because you want justice. Anger asks for justice.
Yeah.
Anger is a cry for justice. Remember that. Remember the 4 emotions we discussed the other day. That's how you know internally you're wounded. When you have anger that is out of proportion. Anger is, I have been done wrong. I need justice.
Yeah.
The other emotions we talked about were fear. I'm in a wrong environment. I need safety. Or I need rescue. Then there was shame. I'm a wrong person. I need to be changed, adjusted, improved. All right? We were discussing, and then guilt. I've done something wrong. I need to be forgiven or punished. I need to be restored. I need it washed away. All right? So once you realize you're feeling anger, now reality begins to down. The final emotion is usually acceptance. Acceptance does not mean restoration again. It means, okay, so here we are. This is a new reality we are in. Brahman, let me remind you that after infidelity, that marriage will never be the same again. We are not saying it will never be good. It can be good, even better. But what was existing is usually gone for good. People think it's a small thing, they'll patch up. That marriage as it was, the terrain totally changes. Now, if there's an introduction of a child, now it's a permanent result of something that hurt you deeply. Do you see what the dynamic of a child?
Yeah.
In the case where there was no child, you can actually now begin to trudge forward, forget that other woman, forget that other person. Women also cheat. Today we are discussing men, but in another show we'll discuss women. They are not angels.
They better be ready.
They are not angels, and they are kind of cheating for them. It has another kind of flavor of pain. Pain has flavor. All are snakes, but one is a python, one is a cobra, a viper. So today we might be discussing cobras. Tomorrow we're going to pythons. So when there's a child, Brahman, it is that debilitating pain that has a permanent reminder. I want you to see that. There will always be a reminder. A child, remember that child that was born from the infidelity of David and the mother to Solomon. The first child died.
Yes.
Died. Some things, man, they go deep. They have deep roots. They say, don't hurt a person, because hurting a person like throwing a stone into water. You don't know how deep it will go. Hurting a person is like throwing a stone. It may continue sinking and sinking and sinking and sinking. You never know how far it will go. The best thing as a person to imagine is to not do to them don't do to them what you can't imagine being done to you.
Yeah.
There are people who can't picture going back to a person after that kind of infidelity. They just can't. They can't wrap their minds about ever trusting that person again. Takes a bigger heart, takes grace. Many people are forgiven. They have lived a happy life after that. But we are discussing today saying, when there's a child, as a woman, you shall consider the following. After you have gone through these emotions and reached a point where you are considering how to move forward with your life. If there's a child involved, it means also other things. This person needs to have unprotected sex out there. Now they are going to be a father somewhere. I'm a stepmom now if I stay. And then there might be provision depending on the situation on the other side. There can be always now support, child support, education. There's an introduction of other people into this family. You understand?
Yeah.
When there was infidelity and no child, there might be no introduction of a permanent party. But a child opens terrain with the mother, and the child is a different terrain. Different people attached to this family. You understand?
Yeah.
You might keep it secret, but it will remain a fact. Even if that mother is peaceful, they don't want chaos, they go to their own, that child's father will remain this person. You understand?
Yes.
Circumstances vary. So the following are your considerations. If you stay with one heart and don't transfer the anger to that child. If you stay with one heart and decide that you put it behind you and you treat that child as far as you can. Not everybody has the courage to keep facing the child. You can say you don't want anything to do with the child. That's your right. That's your right. That's not anger or anything. You would say that the transactions be far away from me. That's very healthy. It's not grudge. You're staying under your conditions. Remember that. You can forgive and say, okay, I still want to build my home, but I would rather not get myself involved. Other people say, okay, let me watch, let me talk, let me help that kid. It's okay. If you have that grace, if you have that capacity, it's okay. But you're saying, don't force, don't transfer emotions to an innocent person. All right? Yeah. The other thing is, don't expect the moment you're forgiven for the pain to go away. Forgiving is an act. Pain is associated to the wound, and the wound might take long to heal. Yeah. It might be you wash it today, wash it tomorrow, wash it again, wash it again, wash it again. It might be a journey, a journey, a journey. You cannot hurry. You know the offender is impatient for us to get over it. Get over it. Get over it. No. Bramwell, once you have sinned, you don't have power. You cannot be both the offender and the judge. Yeah. You are the accused here. You can't determine the sentence, how long it will be. The person who is hurt is the one who feels it. And that might be the one who needs the time to heal. So, and we are not saying, remember I said two categories of people. These bad guys who are misguided. Many times they experience a baptism, a conversion after messing up. Because they are brought close to what they stand to lose. We'll cover that more in another show, but there are people who need a school of hard knocks to wake up. They don't hear by words only. They need a blast of a gun to be aroused out of their slumber. There are people like that. They are good guys, but they are ignorant. They are playing around with the fire, dangling their finger. So, life after affair, love after affair depends mainly on these two people, how they took in the shock, how they processed it, and if they want to give this marriage a second chance, how this person behaved, and if they're willing to mend the wounds they have caused. All right. So let me tell you about how you know whether this is a bad guy in disguise. Call them wicked. A good guy misguided. We call them weakness. This is weakness. They allowed weakness to take over. Everybody has lust. Everybody desires to sleep with every beautiful person. Yeah, that is a universal thing. As long as you are normal, the thought, oh my God, the thought crosses. Everybody feels emotions. We just don't act on them. Yeah. We just maintain our trust. We just maintain our promise. Just hold on to our fidelity. We just stay. We force ourselves. What does Paul say? I beat my body. Paul is writing the Bible and is still fighting. Yeah. Fighting with his body. There are some battles, Bramwell, that will only stop when you die. Don't try to hurry them. Accustom yourself to fighting with your body. Yes. I subdue. I fight my body lest after I've done all this, I get disqualified. Your body can get you disqualified. We are living sacrifice, but the problem with a living sacrifice, it can crawl out of the altar. A dead sacrifice won't move, but a living sacrifice can sneak away. You know, you leave your place of character. So, what shall you do then? One instruction as a woman is don't live to your, whenever something happens in your home, make it you are happy to stop reporting to your mother. The first thing is an instinct. There are women who, they don't have that ability to process things on their own. They must rush and tell their mother. Yeah. The moment you involve any in-law, that issue has gained another dynamic, even if your mother is your best friend. Why? We say she might be your best friend, but she's my mother-in-law. Yes. The dynamic here is very different. When it comes to issues that concern our marriage, if you report everything to your mother, who is my mother-in-law, at some point it will have a very ugly backlash. She will change how she sees me. For you, you talk out of emotions and you will forgive each other. We go back to lovey-dovey. Where is mommy left? the thing you told her and the emotion you transferred. When we visit there, she sees me in that screen, in that light. It can change so much how she views me if she's your confidant. People have done it and they make it look normal. But human psychology cannot reconcile two opposites. A person, he's treating me so bad. I can't even imagine. You cry. Then tomorrow, mom, we made her forget about that. How are you guys doing? Are you going to church? What will mom do with all those feelings? What will mom do with all that you told her? She slept at night with that guy I was doing. And then in the morning, we went through it ourselves. Then in the morning, you want her to just forget it. So the instruction here is this. Don't jump to tell in-laws. Learn as a woman maturity. When you have to discuss the neutral parties. A friend you trust who can always keep your issues confidential. There are people who are lucky enough to have those kind of friends.
Yes.
They exist. If you don't have that kind of friend, get a therapist. Let us normalize seeing life coaches in Africa and counselors in Africa. Let us call up and discuss with a person. Go and pay so that it's a confidential engagement. It's a professional confidential engagement. You not hear it spread over there. All right? And sometimes you don't have to drag the man. You are the one who is hurting. If he can take it, okay. But sometimes you're the one who is hurting. You're the one who needs to process it. And you need to take your time. All right? There's a period of time instead of jumping to conclusion that first week. Except if the person is not apologetic or anything. There's a period of time you need to stop the intimate relations too much so that you can process your feelings. You can decide where you are. You need to check your health. You need to test, maybe. You need to do this. Balance where you are. Decide what you want to do next. There's some things you need to do. You may not need to move out of the house, but you can stop some things to regain clarity. Also to assert that you have authority over your body, your life, your space. There's a space of yours, Brahman, that you don't sell away when you get married.
Yeah.
We become one, but there's a sense in which once you betray me, I take back my oneness. I take my half. It's not permanent. This thing is not irreversible. Should you violate the covenant, I don't expose myself to pain or to danger because of you. All right?
Yeah.
So we are saying, don't jump to discuss in-laws. Number 2, talk to a person you trust. Create space. Sometimes some people move out first to where they work. They go back to the town they work in and they're not coming back. They're just staying there for a while. If they are children and you need to take care of them, or you're thinking about, you're not yet made up your mind. According to the age of the children, some you can tell that there are some issues you're trying to solve. Others you may not need to tell if they're too young. But this is the rule. Let nobody tell you, stay for the sake of the children. The person who went out misbehaving should have remembered they had children.
Yes.
If a person cheats and you walk out, you are not the one breaking the marriage. It's them who broke the contract, the covenant. Remember that. People like blaming the wrong person. It's the person who cheated who broke it, not you. In fact, you should not be made, now you can't even withstand. Don't give up on God. It is Him who gave up. These things don't mean that you don't have a chance to forgive. You're saying when you forgive, you're going to forgive from a sober point. That I love this guy, and from his behavior, I think he means well. He means to change. Let me give him one more chance. You understand? Yeah. Let me stay and we try build our home. It is from a personal decision, not anybody pressuring you, not people. Those who tell you God hates divorce, He also hates deception, a lying tongue. The same God who hates divorce. And I asked you whether there's anybody who loves divorce. No. Hey, children hate it, we hate it, everybody hate it. Yes. But we also hate what? Abuse, pain, deception, falsehood, manipulation, depression, diseases, people taking you down. Divorce is together with all other evils. We never take it willingly. Nobody marries to get out. It is a reaction, it's a response, a consequence of somebody's bad choices. Yes.
All right, and I like that. Benjamin, I'll begin where you said, do not transfer your anger to that child, right? You'd realize that sometimes it can get too tough for some women, to the extent that, yes, the child is innocent. At the same time, I don't want to deal with this guy. I have to move out. But now the energy to get out, Benjamin, some women just don't have it. The fear of walking away.
And that fear, Brahma, is... Fear will always be there when you're making life changes. When you have been... remember, it's part of the emotions of trauma and depression. Confusion. Where am I? Can I stand on my own? All right? We are not saying you must jump out. Sometimes, Brahma, in order to see things clearly, just change environment. Just change environment. You can put up with a friend or somewhere, or go to a prayer retreat or some place, or go to a holiday for a week. Change environment to think clearly and plan. The answer to fear of failure, fear of sinking, fear of is careful planning. Careful planning and courage to dare, to step up. If you realize you will stay and be depressed and unhappy, that doesn't help. Better to step out there and be happy and live a life that is full. Remember we said when people stay and they force the issues, they might end up staying and it comes out in other ways. Diseases. There are people, because they never processed it, they start getting sickly. Illness after illness, this after the other, this after that. Things complicate their life and they begin to deteriorate. Becomes very harmful. Even to the people you're staying with. It spreads. You're not happy. You're always grumpy. You're bringing that issue up. You're bitter now. You're quarreling the man. You're harassing him. You're using that to, you're holding him on tenterhooks because of you. You did not even forgive it. You're holding it as a, it's a hostage. You're holding him hostage because of what he did. No. Overcome fear by careful planning, courage, changing environment, thinking ahead, calculating what are the options between you now. If I stay, what will happen? If I leave, what will happen? Can I move out in stages? If you have decided you can't stay, you can always move out in stages.
All right.
Remind women to never carry all their eggs in one basket. Never get married without ability to survive without the man you're marrying. Things happen. Cheating happens. People change on you. Death happens. In-laws reject. Never and never get married when you don't have the ability to feed yourself and your children without the man you are marrying.
And I like that. Benjamin, right there, to some ladies listening to us here, they might interpret that as, I must have a plan B once I get it. But Benjamin, you'll agree with me. Plan Bs are good. But again, in marriage, you will never construct an exit door that you will never use at some point.
Exactly. When you say without ability, you're saying don't be so undeveloped in your personal potentials.
Okay.
You rush into marriage like these kids. Have you seen how there's a madness going on? They feel entitled to date when you're 19, feel entitled to jump into marriage when they're 20. One of them, I can no longer read those things.
I'm looking at your facial expression.
I can't read them. I'm 22. I got pregnant when I was 13. I decided to get married. Brahman, I can't read those things because that is the alphabet of poverty.
Yes.
Those are the steps down to the dungeon. I have pleaded with all my kinsfolk, my guys, let's get out. Poverty is half death, slavery. And those steps of like sex, money, before you develop skills. When you say without the ability, we are saying have ability to survive in this world. We're not saying get into marriage with one leg out. Marriage only works when you give it your all. When you come here with you made up your mind, you must make it work. But we are saying that some who don't think of developing their skills.
Yes.
Ability to do a sewing machine. Ability to do those skills even when you are still married. You need them to earn some money for yourself. So these people keep saying, imagine I'm here, I have no job, I have children, What do they want us to do? What are they asking us to do? We don't run charitable organizations for feeding stuck people. You should have thought that way ahead. Some of the questions they're asking, they should have asked themselves that way before they went in. I'm here, This thing did not happen in a day. It has been building over years. And you chose to close your eyes. Now it has found you. I'm sorry, I feel for you, but this is just the result of your foolishness, refusal to think ahead. Brahma, life is ruthless. Can be pushed to the streets. Tell people that.
Exactly. Final on Benjamin before I let you go. Cheating does not begin with that child. Cheating does not begin when you're in that bed with that lady. It has the root. There are ladies, once they get themselves into these positions we're talking about here, Benjamin, they become too uptight. They start beating themselves up. Maybe I was the cause. They start blaming themselves. They start thinking that I think I'm not good enough for this guy. How about that?
Remember, that's an important point. Remember, nobody moves out because of who you are. They move out because of who they are. Not that you are not maybe sexually interesting or you are not skilled or anything. If they wanted change, they would have suggested it. And marriage is for two of us. And whatever you would have done, If a person is not disciplined enough, they will still have fallen, slid away, being tempted, carried away. It is never to do with you. Does not mean you don't have to grow. Growth has nothing to do with what has happened. So don't beat yourself up. Everybody has a place to learn and control themselves. Even he is not perfect, and you don't move out. You keep growing and suggesting solutions from inside. All right? So avoid any temptation. Even if the person is trying to blame you, resist that false blame at all. Always you work issues from inside, never from outside.
All right. Always work and resolve issues from inside, and it begins with you, my viewer. You. Any decision you make at the end of the day, it should begin with you. That is it, and that has been our time on this beautiful show, Benjamin Zulu KE. All right? Next time, we'll talk about, again, infidelity, but from a different context. You better watch out on this. Thank you.